unclear. It will turn chilly with a low of 4.
An APR and no deposit on the agile hybrid Swift range. Search Suzuki Swift range to find out more. Suzuki, helping you drive happy. Participating dealers only. Minimum contract length applies. Suzuki Financial Services Limited. Terms and conditions apply. See cars.suzuki.co.uk/offers.
Call Eddie Mayer 0345 6060 973 LBC.
2020 has been a year that's left many people wondering whether to go ahead with plans or to pause them, especially when it comes to moving home. At the Halifax, when our customers couldn't come to us, we came to them, and we still are. Every week, we're doing over 2,500 mortgage interviews by phone and video call, from our home to yours. Because the last thing we want you to do is have to cancel something else. Halifax, it's a people thing.
Hi, I'm Jake, and I'm a cleaner for TfL. We're keeping the transport network cleaner and safer than ever before by regularly spraying all our services with hospital-grade antiviral disinfectant. It kills viruses and bacteria on contact, so the network is as safe as possible for everyone. Please also remember, everyone must wear a face covering at all times, unless you are exempt. To the Mayor of London and TfL, every journey matters.
From cameras to lights, sensors to thermostats, Hive's range of smart devices work to make your home a smarter place to live. Control them all from the Hive app or with your voice.
Alexa, turn the heating on.
So whatever life throws at you.
It's cold.
Outsmart it with Hive. Get a free Amazon Echo Dot when you order the Hive Smart Thermostat from hivehome.com. Hive services require broadband and Wi-Fi. Terms apply.
Did you know that Co-op now deliver repeat prescriptions to your home for free? If you're registered with a GP in England, you can securely view and order your repeat prescription online. Your medication is delivered to you free of charge and at no extra cost to the NHS. There's no need to visit a pharmacy unless you want to. Search Co-op Health to download the app or register online. Co-op, it's what we do. Co-op Health is a provider of NHS services. Full terms and conditions available at co-op.co.uk/health. Your start it up is our warm it up. Your masterpiece is our get it in one piece. Your it's just never gonna fit is our reverse it in bit by bit. And your daily marathon when it's done is our ready to start work and we'll put the kettle on. Because your business is our business. Volkswagen Commercial Vehicles, working with you. Park assist optional extra. Driver assistance only. Driver must retain control at all times. Many van centres open late for bookings. See volkswagenvans.co.uk for details.
I've been in the home all day. I've been working from home and had to pop out to go and collect the children from school. And during that time, we'd been burgled in broad daylight. I think it really is hard when you come into your children's bedrooms and you see the children's bedrooms being turned upside down. So the break-in was a real wake-up call in terms of how to do something about the security of the house. So we did a complete review. The first product I bought was the ring floor light cam, and that was purely because they had an existing floor light on the front of the house. Because the ring floor light cam was on one side of the house, the ring doorbell is on the other, it gives us that total coverage across the front of the property. With the ring system, I get notification if someone is on the property. So as long as my phone stays quiet, I know there's no one on the property. And having that level of reassurance all the time is what is great going. Join Matt and the millions of people protecting their homes with Ring. Learn more at ring.com. This is LBC with Eddie Mayer. Call 0345 6060 973.
That's the number to call if you have a question tonight about COVID vaccine. That's in the news. The other one's waiting in the wings. Professor Beata Campman, Director of the Vaccine Centre at the London School of Hygiene and Tropical Medicine, is with us, as is Dr. Chris Smith, Consultant Virologist at Cambridge University and presenter of the Naked Scientist podcast. Professor, do you not have a podcast yet? I mean, Chris has had one for ages. What are you playing at?
Well, Naked Scientists won't work for me, but we can discuss it.
And Chris, your podcast is phenomenally successful.
Yeah, it's done okay. I mean, we were one of the first podcasts ever to exist back in 2001, believe it or not. And could you believe it's nearly 20 years ago? I can't. I certainly aged a bit in that time. And it took off thanks to Apple actually introducing the music store. Because I started a podcast because we were on a commercial radio station making radio programs and it didn't have a very big audience. So we thought, well, probably we could make a bigger
suffer from infectious diseases through vaccines speaks for itself, and we will not make the vaccines mandatory. And at the beginning, also there won't be vaccine for everybody, so I don't think we can make it mandatory. And it's a policy decision, and I don't think that's the way this country would go.
Chris, what do you think?
I'm very much in agreement with those sentiments. I'm very not fond of mandatory anything, because if you make something compulsory, you have to enforce it. If you enforce it, then you get unpleasantness in the same way as we're seeing with people running up against police and having interactions with them in a way that we would prefer not to be seeing people being outbound during lockdown. I'm a great fan of giving people the information they need to make an informed decision. If you give people the right information, they can understand that information, and to me, information makes it clear. The right thing to do is most people have made the right decision. I think that sort of carrot stick is always better, certainly in a democratic society like the one that we aim to live in.
Here's Camille now on the phone from Kingston. Hi, Camille, what do you want to ask? Well, let me ask first, Professor Beata Kaplan.
Yeah, well, Camille, that's a really good question. And first of all, I'm glad that you got out of it really intact and didn't suffer long COVID or any horrible consequences. So at the moment, if you had the antibody in May, it is likely, or it might also not be likely, that you still have antibody. And the fact that you don't have antibody also doesn't mean that you won't respond to a reinfection or to a vaccination. Because at the moment we don't really know how much antibody is needed to protect ourselves against either the first infection or, well, actually the second infection with COVID, and how much antibody is having to be induced by the vaccine. So I think, the bottom line is that
to visit a pharmacy unless you want to. Search Co-op Health to download the app or register online. Co-op, it's what we do. Co-op Health is a provider of NHS services. Full terms and conditions available at co-op.co.uk/health.
Hear that? It's meant to be sunny today. And because the British weather is so unpredictable, QuickFit are stocking Michelin Cross Climate tyres, giving you excellent grip in any condition. At least that's one thing you can rely on. Find your nearest centre or book online at quickfit.com and drive away happy.
more or less developed. So healthcare professionals, people who work in care homes, people over 80, then people over 75, then people over 70, etc., because there'll be limited supply. So it really depends in which group you might fall, whether you see this vaccine sooner or later. And I think, to expect that we will have a vaccine before Christmas, I think is pretty unrealistic. So I think we're looking at a staged rollout, provided this dossier has been assessed and the vaccine in fact holds promise, because at the moment, as Chris was also saying, we haven't seen the data published and we've only have limited safety information, and things can still take a different turn, although I think it looks really promising.
There's a two-part question on text from Jason in Putney, so I shall split this between you both. Chris, I'll ask you part one. On vaccines, says Jason, if another one becomes viable, is there a chance it could be even better than the Pfizer one?
Yes, this is not a one-horse race. There are more than 20 different products that have now got to final stages of clinical testing and trialling in humans. It just so happens that Pfizer have announced their results first, or at least some of their results, we should more accurately say. There are plenty of other contenders. It's really important that there are, because while a vaccine like the one that Pfizer have hopefully got us ready to receive will be very useful in some contexts, it's not without its shortcomings. For example, it needs to be kept, this one, at minus 80 degrees because it's not stable if you keep it at higher temperatures. Now that wouldn't be useful in the third world, for example, if you're in a resource poor setting in a country that doesn't have a stable set of fridges or even an electricity supply. And I've been to some African countries for work purposes, and the electricity is off more than it's on. So you need a vaccine that's more stable for that sort of environment and will be useful, stable and deployable in the bush, for example. So it's important we've got lots of different vaccines on offer, and not all vaccines are going to be optimal for all people. And that's again where the data on these trials is going to be really useful. We'll find that some vaccines at some times are more suitable. We were talking about pregnancy earlier. That may be a factor. There will be some individuals with certain diseases in whom certain types of vaccines that work certain ways will be better than others. So it's important that we've got lots of different irons in the fire. There will be many others coming along, I'm absolutely sure of that, and there will be some therefore that are better tolerated or better suited to certain situations than others.
The second part of the question for you, Professor. This is Sport and Leisure from Jason. Who's the only player to have scored a goal in 3 different games at Wembley in the same season for 3 different teams?
Oh, it's obvious, it's Dennis Law, and it was in 1967.
That's the correct answer. Well done. If you have a question, particularly on vaccines, we're obviously fielding Sport and Leisure with a great degree of expertise. It's 0345 6060973. Here comes the news. Tim Humphrey.
The government's senior scientists say any coronavirus vaccine won't be rushed through until proper safety checks have been carried out. Families of care home residents are going to be tested for coronavirus before visiting. The number of COVID-related deaths in the UK has now passed 50,000. The weather, heavy rain and strong winds will clear eastwards tonight to leave most places dry and clear, turning chilly with a low of 4.
LBC Travel, I'm Anne-Marie Walsh. The one in Hendon has now reopened both ways between Parsons Street and the North Circular following accident investigation work earlier. Is still queuing on surrounding routes, including on the North Circular eastbound from Finchley towards Chingford. Long delays on the A4 in Chiswick. It remains closed westbound between the Hogarth roundabout and Sutton Court Road because of an accident. Knights Hill and Upper Norwood remains closed northbound. That's following an accident near to the post office. And on the tube, severe delays on the Circle Line clockwise because of train cancellations.
Coming up at 7 on LBC, Ian Dale.
On the news hour, the government seeks to reassure the public over the COVID vaccine. Hong Kong opposition politicians resign on